Okay, now we have a problem here. This is very complicated, but we'll try to do it together. The passé composé with avoir, and when it's followed by an infinitive, has a lot of exceptions. And it takes the agreement in some cases, it doesn't take the agreement in some other cases. This is only when it follows an infinitive. What does that mean? Let's see. I'll give you the same example. La fille que j'ai vue, and now you have an extra element to the sentence. Before it was just la fille que j'ai vue. Now you have la fille que j'ai vue marcher. So that marcher will be your infinitive. So the verb that is not conjugated. So this sentence is very awkward. You have la fille, which is the subject, and then you have le pronom que, that I just explained to you means that. Then you have the auxiliary avoir, because it's passé composé, we're doing passé composé with avoir. All of a sudden you have the past participle that takes the agreement, because you have que, right? Remember? With que it takes the agreement, and fille is feminine, so you have to add an e. And all of a sudden you have another verb here in the infinitive. So la fille que j'ai vue marcher, it's the girl that I have seen walking. Okay, that's what it means literally. So you have j'ai vu marcher, 3 verbs in the same sentence. But it exists in English too, that I've seen walking. It's the same thing in French. La fille que j'ai vue marcher. But now, what happens with this other example? Les chansons que j'ai entendues chanter. You don't take the agreement here. Les chansons is plural, right? And que, it's a pronoun que, j'ai entendu. Entendu doesn't take an S because les chansons is plural, because des chansons do not do the action of singing, but they take the action of being sung. So there's not agreement. So it's a very complicated rule. Okay, this is probably the most complicated of all of them, all of the exceptions. So which one is the rule, la règle? The past participle followed by an infinitive takes the agreement only when the COD does the action, does not take the action. So let's go back to the example. La fille que j'ai vue marcher, she's doing the action of walking. The girl is walking, right? Instead, les chansons que j'ai entendu chanter, the chansons, the songs, they've been sung. They don't do the action of singing, okay? So all of a sudden you don't add the s at the end because it's plural, okay? And feminine. So entendu, les chansons, it's plural feminine, should be a es at the end because it's plural feminine. But they don't because they receive the action, they don't do the action. And this is your first exception and the rule with this exception. Now, let's see the second exception. Les étudiants que j'ai fait marcher. Les étudiants, it's plural, right? It's the subject is plural. All of a sudden, no, you have fait. With faire, the participe passé does never take the agreement. So les étudiants, like I said, is plural. Fait doesn't add an s because étudiant is plural. Why? Because with fait, faire, with the verb to do, faire, every time that you see that in the sentence, there's never an agreement, general rule. So this is a little easier to remember because, oh, faire, automatically you think, oh, faire, there's not agreement. Les étudiants que j'ai fait marcher. No s, have fait. That's it. Done. No s over here because this verb right here, it's an exception, does never take the agreement when it's followed by an infinitive. Remember that. We're always doing the fact that it's followed by an infinitive. Okay? So look at this example very carefully. Règle. Passé composé with avoir plus faire followed by an infinitive does not take the agreement. So I just explained it to you. You have the passé composé with avoir right here. Then you have the verb faire. And then you have the verb faire, it's followed by an infinitive, marcher, right? So faire does not take the agreement. That's your second exception, and I found it a little easier to understand and to remember than the first one. Third exception, let's see. You have this example here. Les papiers qu'il a vous copiés par la photocopieuse. Look at this example. Les papiers, it's the subject is plural, right? All of a sudden you have à vous copier. À, the verb, the auxiliary avoir. Participe passé is vous. Vous does not take an S because papier is plural. Does not take an S. Why? I circle right there because par is your other exception, just like faire. When there is par in the sentence, there's not agreement with the subject. Okay, so you have your your exception right here, and you have your rule. Passe Compose with avoir plus infinitive plus par does not take the agreement. So remember that in this sentence again, you have to have the Passe Compose followed by an infinitive. An infinitive. These rules apply only when it's followed by an infinitive, and the Passe Compose with avoir. So your rule, your exception here is with par. Every time that you have a Passe Compose followed with an infinitive, and there's par in the sentence, does not take the agreement. That's your third exception. Fourth exception. All of the following verbs do not take the agreement with the Passe Compose plus avoir plus infinitive. So remember, again, only applies when it's followed by an infinitive, when Passe Compose is followed by an infinitive. So all these verbs, now you have to remember that they do not take agreement. So just like faire doesn't take an agreement, affirmer, cru, dit, I already put all these verbs in the past participle for you, okay? This is like saying, j'ai affirmé, tu as cru, il a dit. I already did the past participle for you, the participe passé, and I put it down for you. So all these participe passé, all these participle, do not take a S or E, depending if it's feminine or plural, if the subject that is speaking is feminine or plural, or singular, plural, and so on and so forth. Do not take they get spelled exactly the same way that like you're seeing it right now on this presentation, like this, because the rule says that these verbs do not take the agreement. Okay, and not get confused here with the promis, because promis it's the participe passé as an S to begin with, no matter who the subject is speaking. So that's not because it's plural or anything, it's just the way it's spelled in the participe passé. Okay, so let's see some practical examples. Les arbres, plural, qu'il a voulu abattre. See, I underlined voulu for you. I underlined it. So voulu doesn't take any S because les arbres is plural. Okay? Why? Because I just explained it to you. Voulu is one of those verbs that it's an exception, and in the Passe Compose with avoir plus infinitive does not take the agreement. Here we go. Broke it down for you. Sujet pluriel, voulu, doesn't take the agreement. Okay? Let's see this other example. Les vêtements que j'ai dû acheter. Les vêtements is plural again. Que, remember, means that, the pronoun que. J'ai dû acheter. I had to buy. So les vêtements, plural, do right here does not take the agreement. Why? I underlined it right here. It's one of those verbs that it's an exception, so does not take the agreement. Okay? Last example. Elle s'est laissée courtiser par son voisin. Again, laisser. I underlined it with you. It's one of those verbs. So elle is plural, but laisser doesn't take an extra E just because, sorry, I said plural, I meant feminine. Elle, it's feminine, does not take an extra E because it's feminine, because laisser, it's one of those verbs that it's an exception. Okay? So this is your fourth exception, and what you need to do is basically memorize these verbs, or I think that the more you practice, the more you're going to remember which are the ones that do not take the agreement. That's what happened with me. I know that these verbs don't take it, and this is something that you only have to worry about when you write down, because when you speak, you don't hear that there's an E or an S most of the time, so you don't worry about that. When you write, you take so much more attention and you have so much more time than the spoken language, that you remember that laisser or do or voulu don't take an agreement. Okay, fifth, and I think is the last exception. Participe passé does not take the agreement with in the passé composé plus avoir plus infinitive. Remember the rule, it's always with infinitive, and the pronoun en. The pronoun en, it's like the pronoun que. You should have done it at this point. If you didn't do it, I'll put up a presentation with the pronoun un. The pronoun un, it's basically refers to a quantity. Let's give you this example. Des bonbons, j'en ai mangé plusieurs. So, not to repeat bonbon again, you're saying that you ate. Bonbon is candies, right? You're saying the candies, I have eaten them a lot. I have eaten a lot of them. So instead of saying the bonbon again, in English, you replace candies with them, right? I haven't eaten a lot of them. You don't say, oh, the candies, I haven't eaten a lot of candies. You say, the candies, oh, I haven't eaten a lot of them, right? You replace it with them. Same thing in French. You have Jean. Des bonbons, j'en ai mangé plusieurs. So that means that un substitutes bonbon. It would be that them in English. Is that clear? So when you have that pronoun en, un, in French, you do not agree the past participle manger right here with the bonbon that it's plural, right? You don't put an S here because the bonbon is plural, because it's just the way it is. It's an exception. With the pronoun un, you do not put the agreement. Okay? And here's how I broke it down for you. Sujet, pluriel. Un, jamais prend l'accord, never takes the agreement. And that's it. So, this is the end of the presentation. This was very complicated because there's a lot of rules, a lot of exceptions to remember. But in any time, you can go back and watch the presentation. And after a couple of times that you watched it, you will more likely start getting the gist of what you need to do. And like I said, this is mostly in the written language that you really have to worry about. I'll put up, along with this presentation, I'll put up a couple of exercises that you can just click on the link and get them. But you can find exercises online anytime to practice this. So what I suggest is that maybe you have the exercise in front of you with the rules that I just given you in this presentation, and then you'll see that everything's going to fall into place, and once you start practicing, then you will remember. So good luck with this. This was probably the hardest rule that we're going to cover, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for following my podcast. Bye bye now.